right. Hello and welcome everyone to New Earth Consciousness. I am here live with Marilyn Jones, and I'm just going to read her bio to you, and then we'll dive into the interview. So Marilyn Jones is a certified Feng Shui practitioner, Chinese astrologer, and life coach with a heart for helping others create spaces that feel like home to the soul. Based in Utah with her 3 incredible children, Marilyn began her healing journey in 2011, discovering Feng Shui the following year. The moment she encountered its principles, something clicked. It just made sense, and Feng Shui felt like coming home to herself, and she knew this was the path she was meant to share with others. In 2020, driven by her passion to empower, Marilyn began offering Feng Shui education, design, inspiration, and coaching in Chinese astrology. With a natural eye for design and a deep love of teaching, she guides clients in harmonizing their lives and spaces, bringing a sense of balance and peace to every corner. Marilyn also shares her passion as a professor at a local college, teaching interior design students at the art of incorporating Feng Shui, blending purpose with aesthetics. With her life experiences and belief that everything is energy, inspire her to help others create and cultivate intentional spaces. She understands how powerful even the simplest shifts can be, bringing a sense of calm and connection to our surroundings. She believes that an intentional, well-designed home or workspace gives us the strength to move through life grounded in our own energy, rather than being pulled by the noise of the outside world. To Marilyn, healing is a lifelong journey, and she is honored to support her clients in creating homes, personal spaces, and environments that truly feel like a sanctuary, places where they can live with purpose, joy, and peace. And she encourages each person to build spaces that not only reflect who they are, but nurture who they are becoming so they can truly love the life that they live. So with that, Marilyn, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So share with us your healing journey. What brought you to the power of Feng Shui? And am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an E, it's spelled differently, but yeah, Feng Shui is the proper pronunciation.
Okay.
Great. So, trauma, along with a lot of other people, is what took me down my healing journey. I had 7 people pass away in the matter of 8 years. And it really, including my husband, my parents, and, very close family members. And it very much took me down a journey of needing to understand my world more, just knowing that there's so much more, and that I actually have control over, some of the outcomes of things. I don't think we have full control over anything, don't get me wrong. We have a lot of influence in our own lives that, a lot of us don't understand, that we, because of trauma, because of our response to situations in our world, we have, closed ourselves off. And we all have our own personal journeys. Mine, I have always been a very intuitive person. I grew up in a place that didn't really support that. And so therefore it was kind of squashed in me. I didn't understand it myself. But when I was faced with these tragedies, it very much came to light. And when I was introduced to, different modalities, there's so much that they really work together. And it's really amazing that you can find one thing that leads into another. Like, I was even introduced to Feng Shui and Reiki about tandemly. But at the time, Reiki and breath work actually were the things that I could really deal with. And I implemented, or I had someone like myself now implementing Feng Shui ideas in my life and kind of supporting that part for me, while I was able to, integrate and move some of my own energy, start my healing process, in different respects. And we all have a different journey in that way. But then fully just coming back into, realizing the power of Feng Shui, just moving things around in my environment and how it shifted my body. So
amazing. That's incredible. Yeah, these moments in our lives that are just rock us to our core, um, it's, did it feel for you, I mean, yeah, I can't imagine the amount of overwhelming grief that you must have experienced. I mean, it must have just felt like my life is completely falling apart. Who am I, right? I imagine that it was like, I mean, I know for myself, just I've never really had um, I've never really had close people to me die yet.
it's
You
very,
know,
very nice.
I feel very blessed, but I mean, I can go back and think to, I think the first kind of jarring life event for me was when my parents got divorced when I was 18, and that, even
That's a
though
big
I
deal.
saw it coming, right? It was like, oh, okay, that makes sense intellectually. And then it was like a year later, suddenly I was questioning everything about myself, my childhood, like who am I? Who are they? Like what? And
Yeah.
so really
My purpose, what what does this all mean?
gathered. And so, um, yeah, so I'm really curious about the power of feng shui because I really don't know that much about it. I mean, other than, of course, I know the very typical things that you see, like, oh, hang a little octagonal mirror at the front of your door and things like that. But I don't really understand um, the shift in energy. So for you, can you describe like what that was like? Like, what did you notice? What things did you change in your environment? And how did you notice it change your own energy? I'm really curious.
Well, my first real major experience, wasn't even about me
Mm,
specifically. My son, who was 5 at the time, um, was just having these big anger issues. He would go to school and he was fine. He would come home and he was mad at the whole world. And I don't blame him. At that point, he had 4 people die in his life. And like, how do
yeah.
you even grasp that at that point in time? And, especially losing such significant people. So I had my feng shui master come in. She did all of our astrology charts, which is just what I love about feng shui is that you can start really really basic with just moving some things around in your home to create that better flow of energy. You can also take it really really deep.
Mm,
She integrated the Chinese astrology chart, and went and looked at his room, the energetic directional energy of his room. Um, and he had a lot of red in his room, finding out that he has high fire in his chart, in his personal energy. And this was very much affecting him and just, adding to his angst and his freakouts. So she suggested only changing one thing, which was his bedding.
mm,
Uh, so I changed it that day uh, to an element, to the water element that he needed. It kind of put out that fire, more calming it, not necessarily completely putting it out, but
mhm,
just calming that energy. And it was an overnight difference in the child. He had all of us, as we create patterns within ourselves, once we start recognizing things and then break these patterns, it takes a little bit for our bodies to fully adjust to that. So there were some things, within him that were those learned patterns, learned ways to get attention. But honestly, within 2 weeks, he was back to the little boy that I
wow.
knew.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Fascinating. I have to say I'm chuckling on the inside because my son, when we moved to a new house, I let him pick the color of what he wanted to paint his walls as. He picked
uh-huh.
bright red. He was already a super fiery kid. So it was, I could say, I was like, oh, dang, if I could have just, maybe put my foot down. I mean, it's funny because I remember thinking, I said to him, okay, we can paint this wall red, or I think these two, but I feel like you need to balance with maybe some blue or So I felt
Right.
like at least some knowing, but had I known what you're talking about, I wouldn't have done red at all. But there
Yes.
you have it, so
Yeah.
interesting. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Um,
knowing the effects and just how, and red especially, fire energy, all energies are really strong, but they have
yeah,
their different strengths and how they affect us, and if you already have high fire, sometimes we all are very, very intuitive beings.
yeah,
We just naturally have that in us. Sometimes we know how to use that because we've been taught, and other times, it's not part of our world or any part of understanding, and so we have to learn what that really means and have these experiences in life that take us down that journey. But learning that for myself as well. Funny thing is too is I had a red wall in my bedroom, and I. I also have high fire, not as high as what my son's was, but and his is a little bit with his charts different than mine. But when things first started happening, I was more focused on how do I help my children? How do I create this safe space for them? And then just whatever happened with me. I mean, I definitely did things for myself, but it was honestly 4 years down the road until I walked in my bedroom one day and was like, I need to get rid of that red wall. And I didn't like going in my bedroom. It didn't, it bothered me. I didn't want to spend as much time, but I thought that it's just because I didn't have someone sharing the space with me anymore. And that part of it still makes me emotional, but it
yeah,
was very, very hard. And
yeah,
when I realized, I don't like this wall. I mean, I acted on it. And within 2 days, I repainted my entire bedroom and I loved my space after that. I needed water and metal influence in my chart, a little more calming. I wear the colors as well. I dress very intentionally,
yeah,
um, to just help support my energy. And
yeah,
it's really, really amazing.
yeah. Yeah, I believe in the power of color, that's for sure. And I'm curious to with the Chinese astrology, um, was it reflected in your chart that when you look back on the people that passed away in your life, could you see that in your chart that there was something big that was going to happen during that time? It was there?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have what is called luck pillars in your chart, and there's such a depth to feng shui. That's you can go in someone's house and say, "Oh, these walls need to be moved, and this is why. Maybe this is why you're having health issues." Um,
Mm,
I stay generally a little more surface than that, mostly because of where I live isn't fully accepting of the depth, but the depth definitely goes there.
yeah.
So
What do you find is a common mistake that you find in people's homes as far as when it comes to feng shui, layout, whatever? Do you find that, I mean, I have no idea. Do you find that most houses, when you walk in, it's like, oh yeah, the layout, because we don't have that knowledge in our culture, that we have all these, suburban sprawl and all the houses are the same. Do most houses, when you walk in, you're like, oh my gosh, this is a mess? Or what do you see most often?
that's a good question. I mean, they're all, very intricate, and the way that we design and work is very intricate as well. Sometimes the things what we're drawn to, and this is part of what I was going to say earlier and didn't, is that we're very intuitive. Sometimes, though, it becomes self-sabotage. We block ourselves from things, not even realizing. So sometimes we get caught up in the aesthetics, in it looking Instagram worthy,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And so we don't think outside of it. But then I've had clients that, have built these big, beautiful houses, and they're like, I don't like it.
Yeah,
It's not serving me. It doesn't feel inviting. And it's because they haven't put their personal energy into that. And sometimes we've had so much trauma in our life that when we self-sabotage, some of that self-sabotage isn't obvious. Some of it is I'm high fire. It's an energy that I understand right now in this moment. So I'm going to add that to my life, and not actually understanding, what that's really doing to us energetically. And you can do that with any element. I just
Yeah,
use
sure.
fire as an example, but we have 5 different elements. And, according to your chart, and just the meaning of those elements, there's meaning and color, symbology, chakras. There's so much that is involved in recognizing what those elements really mean and how they affect our bodies. It's really cool that it's like quantum physics meets neuroplasticity, right? So when we can change our environment, then it allows our self to change. It's kind of an environmental metaphor of, and sometimes some people want to work from the inside out. So some people start with the astrology part, and then we go to their environment. And some people start with the environment because they're a little bit of afraid, or they're not ready to face some of the things that maybe that's going to open up. And either way, there's not a right or wrong way of doing it. Either way, it starts moving energy and then allows you to just respond to your world instead of be in reaction mode all the time. So
Mm-hmm. So when people come to work with you, do they just come and say, "Here, Marilyn, just look at all aspects of my life and tell me what seems the most important thing to address," or do they come very specifically of like, "This is my issue. How do I change it?" Or is it the whole gamut?
It's the whole gamut, really. And it depends on a lot of where people are on their personal journey. So some people are ready to just dive in and say, I am so like sick of this. I know, I know what I need. I'm ready to deal with it. Let's dive in. Some people, and some of it's money too, right? So I'm totally happy to and willing to work with different people's budgets. I can go into someone's house and just say, okay, I have 1 hour, I have 2 hours in this home. I take the directional energy of the home, and then I just go from room to room and I move things around. Sometimes it's furniture, sometimes it's just smaller things, and just moving them from one space to another. Sometimes people, have a really big budget, and those are also really fun and challenging. And I can go in and I change all of it and say, here's here's what I suggest. I do a presentation on suggestions of, different things. I don't take it to the full. I do have designers that I work with that can take it to the full extent of, going and then implementing everything. So I teach the design part of it. I don't fully implement that. I will sometimes, like I said, I'll go in and move things around. But as far as doing the shopping and things, I give ideas on colors and say, this is what honors this sector. This is what honors your energy. And if people are just needing somewhere, they don't maybe know a whole lot about feng shui. They know the basics. They know, how much it can help, or they had a referral and an experience from someone else. I always have them start with their bedroom, because that's where we go to reset ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's where, our house on a whole is a big deal. And I also look at your front entry. So your front entry is the mouth of the chi. It's, how are you blocking that chi from entering your home? And then how is that affecting you as you're sleeping and, spending time in your bedroom?
Yeah. Interesting. Can you give us an example of a client case anonymously? Like what, give us an example of a client that came to you with a certain, whatever their issues were, and what you were able to do for them?
Yeah, sure. So I have, let's see, which is the best one to, I have so many. So I have a client that started a new business. And, I had first worked with her on a personal basis. And she redid their bedroom according to the colors that they needed. She was feeling really, really stuck and stagnant in, do I jump into this new business? Do I not, she just didn't know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so my suggestion was to start with her bedroom. She and her husband that are both part of this, and they changed the colors. They both needed more wood elements, so we did purples and greens, and they had a big safe in their bedroom also. That that in itself, she's high metal, and then she has this big metal thing that's beside her and having issues sleeping. And so, removing that from the bedroom, it created a space where she's like, we've never slept so well. Just being able to allow their bodies to be in a supportive space, and all subconsciously, so your body responds to all of that on a very subconscious level. And then I teach my students, as you start to recognize, then you can come to that conscious level and start making those changes, little by little, and recognizing and connecting those things of, oh, I changed this. And when I did journaling, or when I was wearing this color, this is how it truly affected me. And it's because, the depth of that soul energy that they needed. So
Yeah, fascinating.
yeah.
Wow, it's just amazing. Super fascinating. I can already tell. I'm like, yeah, I can see how like certain things in my bedroom are probably big fat no-nos. Like, yeah, and the way the house is laid out, it's not our design, but it's like it's backwards. Like everything about it's backwards. It's like the anyway, I won't go into all the details, but already I'm like, yeah, ours is kind of like, I could see it would just be an interesting challenge for you, you to tackle.
To look at. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So what are the different ways that you, what are your offers?
So I have a consulting business and coaching business. Through my experience, I came to realize and would have feedback from clients of, I want more. Like, what more can you give me? So this year, I just, in fact, the last few months, I just started implementing coaching, which I do based on your astrology chart. So I don't require that in order to coach. I have that experience in coaching otherwise. But it's really helpful because it tells so much. It is truly a story about how you respond to the world and why, and just looking deeper at things. There's just so much depth and meaning to it. It's really, really amazing. So I started that coaching journey, which has been amazing. And then as far as consulting goes, I'll do the whole package of, you can buy a package that includes your chart and then your home. Most of the time, it needs to be taken in steps. And so I'll do a package that's your entire home, but then we'll look at one room at a time, so that it doesn't get overwhelming. I also teach classes. Right now I'm teaching classes about the compass. So I do what is called classical feng shui. There's a few different types of feng shui. Classical feng shui really brings all the different types of feng shui together in one package, and then includes that quantum physics. So it's, you get an actual directional energy reading on a home, and then lay a compass on that and design accordingly. So right now I'm teaching a class that we take one sector or directional and the cardinal and subcardinal directions. We take one sector at a time, and we are going through and doing different projects and, focusing on that one sector so that we can clean out and refresh and re-energize that sector, and then integrating things and kind of journaling and seeing how it's affecting our bodies, how it's affecting the rest of our lives, according to the meaning of that. I also teach classes on understanding the elements and how the elements relate to each other and work together. So I really want to make it so that, I have clients that who are willing to put the work in themselves and wanting to put the work in themselves can do it, through learning my classes. And then those that, sometimes it just takes just learning to trust yourself. And that's something that Feng Shui very much taught me. And what I love, the gift that it truly gave me is to learn how to trust myself, the shadow parts, the light parts, and just really trusting my intuition. So helping other people along that journey, so maybe being side by side, doing that coaching journey until they're ready to move into that next step, and just creating that flow and being able to, take that journey and talking about what that journey is, together in the process of it, instead of saying, no, this is what you bought, this is what we're going for. It's a journey, and it should be a journey. So, we can adjust things as they come.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see just the deep value that you provide, especially for those that are just in a position where they're just like, they're overwhelmed, they're not clear on what it is that they want to do, or, shift and change in their life. They don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's really true that there's times in life where, not everything's in our control. And so when life kind of throws these big bumps that show up, like, for me right now, I'm in Arizona, taking care of my mom, who's, she's getting older, and she's getting to that time of life where I'm suddenly realizing, like, talking to my brother, being like, what are we going to do here? Like, the time's coming, like, we need to figure this out. And sometimes there's just so many elements. Suddenly you're just like, wait a minute, now I have to juggle what, and where do I start, and how can I make this, how can I accept what's here now with grace and ease and support and all of that. I can feel that that's what you can really provide for people. So it's really beautiful.
Thank you. It is really amazing. And I tell people I do Feng Shui, even if I'm just going somewhere for one night and staying overnight, but I'll go in, if we stay at a hotel room, and do the directional energy. So it's
you automatically just go in every space, be like, yeah, no, this is here.
Like, we just need to change a few things around to make it work, for everybody. And, something I want to mention too is that some people, like, we make these changes in our lives sometimes thinking, maybe it's like, oh, okay, it's time to move, thinking that this is going to be our big time, it's going to change all these things in life. And then we realize, oh, it just followed. We have something new, and it did clear some energy, but it just followed us. So it doesn't, anywhere you are, if you're in a temporary situation, you should always have the energy so that it's supportive, so you don't feel so temporary. If someone is building a home, like, that is a perfect time. You have a clean slate.
Yeah.
It's a perfect time. Or if you're moving into a home, but you can definitely, take anything that is already existing as well. So
beautiful. Awesome. Well, I want to just say thank you so much for being here and being live with me. Those that are watching, feel free to ask questions in the chat. I'm sure Marilyn or I will get back to you. Check out her website, which is eatprayfengshui.com. Any last words, Marilyn?
I'm also on Instagram. I am running a special right now for coaching, specifically of buy one session, get one free. So, take advantage of that. And yeah. I would love to answer any questions, find me and message me, and I'd love to chat. I do a virtual coffee as well. I love the virtual coffee thing. It's always good to see, are we going to actually work well together? Because not everybody fits everybody. So that virtual coffee is free. If you're interested and have some more questions, please feel free to book that as well.
Great. Awesome. Thank you
Thanks
so much
for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks to everyone watching, and we'll see you again soon.
All
Bye
right.
for now.
Bye-bye.